Hi, folks, welcome to another episode of Words of Ages. Today, we are going to be talking about how to not keep giving up on new habits that are good for you. So, if you have a bad day, remember that tomorrow is a wonderful gift and a new chance to try again. As I crawl back into bed after hitting the snooze button, my eyes are always heavy with sleep, and I tell myself that you gave up once more about something or the other that I've developed over the past couple of days, weeks, months, and I roll over back to sleep annoyed with myself, which is not a good thing. So 2 months earlier, inspired by a book called The Miracle Morning, I took the habit of getting up early every day to meditate for 15 minutes, write for 30 minutes, and exercise for 30 minutes. When I started the new habit, it felt amazing. I was so proud of myself. I was doing it. On top of the satisfaction of achieving goals that I had set for myself, I really felt the benefit of being productive before everyone wakes up. It has a positive knock-on effect on the rest of my life. I was upbeat, motivated, and I was going to work with a spring in my step. Then about 2 months in, normal life happened. I had been to bed later than the previous nights, drinks with colleagues, watching a movie, and tiredness coupled with maybe the weariness of the new habits quickly took over. That morning, I did not jump out of bed and I was longing to roll over instead of starting my miracle morning. If you are a human being like me, I am sure you are very familiar with taking up new habits only to give them up 2 or 3 weeks or months later. The most notorious one is New Year's resolutions. Who hasn't promised themselves they'd go to the gym 3 times a week, they'd stop eating junk food, or they'd stop drinking alcohol together? We take up new habits only to let them die away after a few weeks. Have you noticed how different the feeling is between when you start and when you give up? When we start a new regime on the 1st of January, we cannot imagine that there will be one more day in our life when we will not jump out of bed to go to the gym. We wonder, how could I ever not have that motivation? It's so exciting, and how did I not do it before? Yet somehow it happens and procrastination becomes the new habit. With procrastination comes guilt, and so low self-esteem starts creeping in. There's indeed a very negative effect on your life if there's constantly a little voice in your head reminding you that you have failed this or that. My aim here is to help myself feel good about myself, and perhaps you too. Even with the fallibility of being human and not being able to sustain new habits, you don't have to beat yourself up for giving up new healthy habits. You're not the only one out there. We are all doing it, or not doing it for that matter. I used to be very, very disappointed with myself when I stopped a new routine, as it gave me a feeling of not being able to be in control of myself, that my goal had not been achieved. However, unless you are in a life-threatening situation and seriously need to change your lifestyle, I think we need to take a different perspective on things. Either way, you never know when you die, so might as well live it up every day despite the failures. So yes, it could be better, but you cannot deny that you have, for whatever small amount of time it happens, spent your life doing something else that was better for you. Have you given up smoking only to start again 3 months later? Think of it this way: for 3 months your body was healthier, and you've probably earned back few minutes of your life. Would it not be better stopping smoking for 3 months every year rather than not at all? If I told you now that your target is to stop smoking for 3 months every year, would that not make it easier to handle? There are a few ways that we can make these new habits easier to handle. I think we should focus more on the fact that even if we haven't sustained it, we've done some good for ourselves. Here are 3 main elements you should consider. Always set a time limit for your new habit. If you suspect you will sooner or later give up on it anyway, why not set the end date when you start? This may sound simple, but the big difference is that you are now in control of when you stop. This will also make it easier to digest, and you might actually be more likely to sustain the habit longer than if you hadn't set yourself an end date. This is something I do with relationships too, okay? Like when I'm starting to talk to someone new, and I give it a deadline. And if within that deadline, I can, sort of figure out, it has to be a reasonable deadline. It has to be long enough for the person to be able to come and communicate with you. But if in the midst things work out, then I think I give it a go, otherwise I don't. So I tried this experiment myself. On June 7th, I started a new healthy habit: wake up early, meditate, write, read news. I was of course excited about this new habit, but I thought I'd end up giving up anyway, as I had with other healthy habits outside of my comfort zone. Then I had this idea. What if I tell myself that it's labeled summer healthy habits and that I only have to sustain it till the 7th of August? I mean, it did make it a lot easier, I have to admit. It reduces it to, a time frame, and you can reduce it to 1 week if you tend to give up after a few days too. So, reflect on what you've learned or gained even if the habit has stopped. Stopping doesn't mean you haven't done anything productive. For 3 months you did something different, and surely your brain or body benefited from it. You should also not consider the direct effects of this new habit, but the fact that you have learned something different and probably raised your self-awareness. Let's say you decided to stop drinking alcohol altogether. Even if the new habit only lasts a month, you will have learned something about yourself. I recently decided to test not drinking any alcohol at all on Friday nights with the colleagues at the pub. Surprisingly, I was upbeat and enthusiastic as the night wore on. Same as when I was drinking on a typical Friday night. This was a revelation to me. When I thought that my excitement, my enthusiasm was related to my alcohol intake, it actually wasn't. I was drunk with social interaction, and that's what actually mattered to me on those Friday nights. That is exactly my point. I only did this 2 Fridays in a row, but I learned something about myself that I can take away for the future. And to a certain degree, I think the alcohol intake doesn't have its power over me on Fridays anymore. I know that I will be able to enjoy myself even if I don't drink on those days. It's important to step back and reconsider about these issues and these new habits. Working at intervals is a healthy process in a lot of disciplines. As a runner, it's scientifically proven that it'll be better off alternating fast and slow intervals during a run and alternating workouts and rest over the course of a training plan, rather than always running at the same pace or running even without recovering. It's the same for learning process also. When you study for your final exams, it's well known that taking breaks or moving on to another activity for a while is beneficial for the brain. We could even take a broader perspective. Living a healthy life is all about balance. Why not alternate the healthy new habits? Stop eating bread for a month and then go back to your usual levels of consumption. Go without alcohol on Friday nights for 1 month, then stop. Life is about these little experiments and how, what kind of takebacks you take from these little experiments. As I'm narrating this today, I'm at the start of a new habit streak. I've decided that I will take 30 minutes every day before breakfast to start this blog, which I've been doing for a couple of weeks now, but I've been thinking of uploading these as well. Disruptions in my routine, for example, a stay over at a friend's place, are often the breaking point of a new habit. So I've decided that I will only keep this new habit for a couple of months until my next endeavor. Thinking about stopping this habit that I enjoy so much currently makes me sort of sad, but after all, I want to keep it going. I can. But at least if I do stop on my planned date or beyond, I won't feel guilty and unaccomplished, because that was a part of the plan. I will feel that I have achieved my goal, even if the habit only lasted for a couple of months or maybe a couple of weeks. Then hopefully I can be excited to take it up again when I come back home. It's great that you're trying to change your life for the better. Otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this podcast, but it should not have the consequence of making you feel bad about yourself for not sustaining it. If it does, it will create stress and eventually become counterproductive. Take small steps towards a healthier lifestyle. Enjoy the process and take time to reflect on what you've learned about yourself. Only then will you be able to trust your process And that is the best way for your body and your mind to benefit from the change. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to like, share and subscribe, and press the bell icon on this video because it helps us grow. This is Words of Ages. I hope to see you in the next episode, and I hope you're taking care of yourself.